everyone. This is a episode point two. As last episode, it was very late and I ended it early, but I did do some updates and a little pre-rolling for establishing things for the episode after this one. What happens in that time? What happened in that time period? And some significant things happened where I felt it necessary for viewers that they can watch it so they have a context of certain things that happened. So, first thing that what I established was that at the end of the last episode, both Volk and Sharn together with Soul went into the Dragon Realm. Now, during the episode, we already established that the time in the Dragon Realm does not equivalent the time in the realm that they are. And so, to do the tests, to generalize, because it went over a very long period of training and trying tests, many years have passed for Volk and Sharn. Now, for Sharn, this isn't necessarily a problem. But for Volk it could have been, because we established in-game, jokingly, but made it canon, that he is 50 years old and Dragonborn, I think the average age for Dragonborns is 80. I didn't check it really, but, and if he were to die from old age, we would have certainly checked it out, if that was the case. But for Sharn to succeed on her tests was basically to, do every skill check with a DC of 20 out of the main skill checks. And at the start, it went really well. It was like on a success, a year passed for Volkenshar, or on a failure, a year passed for Volkenshar. On a success, a month passed. In the actual real worlds, it was like on a failure, it's a day. On a success, it's an hour. But at some point when we went to the lower numbers, yeah, the rolls did not help. Because Volk went along, I decided that she had advantage on all the checks, but nothing more. And so after calculating, after doing all the checks on successing and everything, I came to the conclusion that 27 days or 27 years and 4 months has passed for both Sharn and Volk. Now, with that time, Volk became an old man. Like he's in his 70s now. As a reward for that, I did give him a lot of extra downtime days. I believe I gave him like 300 downtime days to spend this as he pleases, and I increased his intelligence. I increased one of his stat. Allowed him to increase one of his stats with a D4 on the intel stats, because in those years he must have learned something at least. Not much. So Volk now has, instead of an intellect of, I believe, 6, he has an intellect of 9. Now, in the actual world, 27 days have passed and 17 hours before they return. And so that's how the time period changed in that regard. What the other players did in that time used downtime to do a couple of things. They had access to the treasure of the White Dragon. That was right here. The thing was only that, White Dragons freeze everything, and this was just a block of ice. So they had to chinka, 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 and melt away to get to the treasure. Farfelion is actually alive, because the treasure held a diamond worth 500 gold. And, or 2, and that's how they went to Carver Hall and got the resurrection payments from the church. 2,000 gold and 2 diamonds used to get both Chief Todagog back and Farfelion. And Sue held vigil and all those things, and they used the airship. Luckily for them, the airship was completely non-hostile towards them, because the airship was actually built by Sharn's father, Lord Nardwall. and it had a spectral ghost crew that would help them out. They haven't we might touch upon it on the next episode, in the epilogue episode, but they needed the ship would only work for someone who had the magic item, the legendary magic item, the Admirals Hat, the Golden Admirals Hat, which was with the White Dragon's belongings, and or someone of the blood of Narwhal, so Sharn. So going through all these things that they got from the dragon, they got lots and lots of gold and valuable things. I'm not even gonna go over the over all the gold, but I think they easily went over the 30,000 in gold pieces in worth of items, diamonds, all sorts of things. In terms of magic items, the dragon also had a large collection of them. They had a oath bow, who went to Farfelion, who was resurrected. They had a alchemy jug, which Altron claimed. We had the Gauntlet of Pain, a magic item from my previous campaign in Eberron that lets you expend your hit dice to do extra damage to your enemy, which went to Volk when he comes back from that 27-year journey. We have a Weapon Glaive +2 that went to Annabelle, so one of her guns could be magical. We had a Staff of Frost that went to Sue. They had a Bag of Holding for Sharn when she comes back. And we had the magical item, the legendary magical item, the Golden Admirals Hat, which went to Johnny. Now the thing can do a lot, and even here you can see the ship as the like here you have the upper one, upper of the side of the ship, and there you have the lower side of the ship from where they are on the ship. Like here's the crew, and here's the captain that orders the crew around for the person in charge. Well, let's see. I have a list here somewhere with the magic items. Alright, the Admiral's Hat is a legendary attunement item. It requires the approval of Sharn to be attuned to this. The ship itself has multiple modes it can use. You can change the ship in a period of 8 hours into a different mode. Fortress mode, the ship has 500 hit points and a damage threshold of 50, which means that if someone attacks the ship and they do less than 50 damage, it completely ignores the damage. It has a travel time of 1 square a day, like how I do the travel here. So like if you walk on a normal pace, you're faster than the ship when it's in fortress mode. Its weapons can be used, so the ballistas and all those sort of things, but they all attack with disadvantage. War mode. This ship has 350 hit points and has a damage threshold of 30. It can travel 6 squares per day. The crew can use the ship's weapons, and all weapons on the ship are considered magical. The crew are level 2 characters, and that means a rogue, a monk, a ranger, or a fighter, or these stats they have. And if one of the crew members die, they respawn in 24 hours as long as the ship is not destroyed. As the crew also counts all as being ghosts. Damage: the damage of that the ship gets can only be repaired with a wish spell. This must be done before it hits 0, else the ship becomes unable to be repaired. Damage in different modes carries over in percentages to the other modes. The ship is immune to psychic and poison damage. In terms of what the ship as well offers, except for as a massive war weapon, it has an endless supply of beer, water, wine, and apple juice. Has an endless feast of food available. On the upper deck, there's a door that can only be opened by the one with the Admiral's hat or by Sharn. Behind this door is a demi-plane with a spell named Nardwull's Magnificent Mansion. This door has 200 hit points. If it is destroyed, the creatures inside of it is stuck inside the other world. If the door does take damage, everyone inside knows it right away and has the ability with one action to remove himself from the realm. It is a modified Mordecai's Magnificent Mansion. The thing is, you also have to count with, and this is just my personal thought on that, is Mordecai's Magnificent Manor and like Bigby's Hand and those spells. They're all named after wizards out of D&D lore from the established worlds. And in my opinion, if you're homebrewing and you have a homebrew world, these characters might not exist. The spells might exist, but they don't have like it's not like they went to every single branch in the multiverse. So some spells might have different names or even work slightly different. In that world, if Sharn or the Admiral doesn't want you in there, and you get magically kicked out. The ship has a teleportation circle available on the deck, and the Admiral can use an action on the ship to have the ropes command to his will and act as the telekinesis spell, but only on the ship. I was inspired by, I believe, the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie with Blackbeard and his ship and those ropes that did whatever he wanted on that. The last thing the ship provides it is a storage of holding. It can fit an endless amount of items, just like a bag of holding. It just needs to be small so that it can fit through a human-sized door. The ship has a magical study room, which is protected with special wards so that the experiments do not harm the rest of the ship. And it has a shrine to Bahamut. So that's the magic items they got. They're legendary and all sorts of things. The what basically happened and all that. How we are going to continue after that. The next official episode will be a sort of epilogue thing to establish certain things to do in the story and how we will continue, and even if the campaign will continue after this. I'm curious as well. The thing is always what you also have to account for is I want to provide a certain type of quality to my games. And if I feel that I cannot provide that quality, I will not do that. I will not run the game. Like, I need to be confident about what I'm planning on if I want to do that. But that's enough rambling because we're probably going to figure that out in like 2 weeks from now. I'd say thank you all for listening and have a good day.